We're living in an era where there's a scarce of jobs. The jobs are very limited, and you find people who've got post-grad qualification, they're working at retail shop, or they're seated at home. They are jumping from one internship to another. And I think as parents and as children, parents need to really think in training of their children. Is education enough? Is education enough for their kids to have a comfortable life, for their kids to have families, for their kids to be able to pay bills? We are seeing people who've got IT qualification, finance, accounting qualification, sometimes even medical qualification, who are seated at home without jobs. I think as much as we put so much responsibility on the government to revise their curriculum and everything, but we also, as individuals, as families, as parents, as children also, we have to re-look at education. How is it going to set up your child for the future? It is good to have education. I do believe education, it expands your thinking and how you can apply things. But I don't know if it's an unfortunate or whatever, we get given this impression that education is everything that we need to set ourselves for the future, to have a better future. There are so many people who are qualified, where there are organizations where people are overqualified. And people now, because the competition is so tough, the competition, it is so tense, people want to be step ahead. People are no longer, a degree is no longer enough, a diploma is no longer enough, even a honors is not longer enough. So you will find that a junior person is having, at entry level, they are having their masters. There's something that I think as Black people, we also need to start networking. We have to start learning the art of networking. Wherever I've been working for so many years, I've not seen a white person coming for internship. I've never, or being a trainee, I've worked for pharmaceutical companies, I've worked for government company, I've worked for education institution. I've never seen a white child coming for internship. And the more I investigated about this issue, I find that from what I've found out is that you'll find that children of white kids, when they're still at secondary level, you'll find that the school that they go to, they can be a friend of a father or a friend of a friend from the school, where they go during the holidays and they work. And those hours that they have worked is part of training, and it's taken as part of education. As Black people, I think when we grew up, I remember my sisters and my cousin sisters used to work at ShopRite every Easter, December, June holidays. Besides the pocket money that they used to get at OK and all that, but it used to also help them to be business minded, to be independent and all that. At the era that we're living in, for myself, I don't think education is enough. As much as I'm studying, I think I'm studying for the legacy of the family. I'm studying because my mother is like, I didn't have a PhD, and my cousins got PhD and all that. So I come from an academic family. But the main reason that I'm doing it, I don't think I'm doing it because I think it will advance me in life. Because the funny part, the more I study, the more I read, I even find that the modules are repeating themselves. It's like a cycling of education, but tweak there and there to make it different. I don't know if it's me. I don't know. But I find when I open, there's so many modules. You find that 2 modules they share, 3 or 4 chapters. I'm like, I've studied this 3 or 4 years ago. But what I've realized and what I'm loving is that we are not, since I've been home, I'm seeing a lot of people who are making business, who are identifying small things and making business out of something. Some people are selling chickens. There's a lady here who just sells this village chicken, you know, the rough ones. And she's making a lot of money. Because when we are here, you find at home, like yesterday, she will drop 5 or 6 chicken. Then at my aunt, she will drop the same. She is making a lot of money. But the question is that, how many people can she employ? Is the business sustainable? And the other problem is that once somebody do something, all of us will follow. Those who are around, they'll follow and do the same thing. So which means a person has to be different. But I think we need to have the mindset that our children will go to school to open their mind, but they must be business minded from the word go and build legacy. And when I say business minded, I'm not talking about tenders and all that, because tender are short term. You can have a tender now, the next thing you don't have a tender. You must have a primary business that you have. We must think of identify a child's skills, identify the child gifts. There are so many. Everyone is born with talents. Not everyone is meant to sit behind the desk and all that. But I think the way we think that if we go to school, we get education, automatically life is gonna be okay. And there are so many graduates who are sitting at home. When you go to ShopRite, especially here at Venderland, you go to ShopRite, you go to Spar, it's people that you went to school with, and you realize that you are so fortunate, and some are even more educated than you. They are there seated behind the cash. What do they call it? I forgot what it's called. Somebody who will help you in the shop or whatever. If somebody's got a degree or even a postgrad. So when you take your child and then you take your child to go and study tourism, is it something that they can use tomorrow? Or is just a wasted qualification and the paper that they will have, but they can't really apply it? So, and I also think we do courses that we don't really want. Our kids do courses that they don't really want or don't have passion, or the courses don't have value because the child just want to go to tertiary. Whereas children can take a gap year. I do believe children can take a gap year and find themselves. Go and volunteer somewhere. Go and volunteer at community, at hospital. Get to know at NGO. Get to know what is your passion and encourage your kids to volunteer. Make it a tradition for your child to volunteer. Because honestly, jobs are scarce. And even organization now, when people are resigning, they are not replacing people. They are dividing their workload with other people. And I find that people, there needs to be a balance. There needs to be a balance between intelligence and wisdom and being street smart. In this world, I think when you're street smart, you can survive anywhere. It's easy for you to identify something. And you don't have to start something new. You can start something that has already been there. Somebody is selling it, has been in business. But you are innovative in how you do it. But the problem with us is that we go and start a business. We don't change. We don't think of the marketing model. We don't think of the business model, how, and also the future, where I want to take this business to in 5 years to 10 years time. We just happy to have money to pay the bills for now, and we don't think, how can I set myself apart? How can I be different? Products are the same, but what you bring in for the product to be, or service to be better, is the customer service that you give, the added value, your touch, your personality. And that is the added value that you're gonna add to your business. And most of us are in debt. Most of us are in debt. We're swimming in debt. When we get our money, it's hand to mouth. It's not enough. We really need to think about also the culture of networking. We have to think about the culture of networking. When we take our kids to school, what kind of schools are we taking our kids to? Is it the schools that is going to be beneficial? There are schools that are very expensive, or let me say expensive or whatever. But you find most people who go to those schools, they end up being successful. They end up networking while they're there. The parents are networking, because when they're there, the parents understand that they're setting the ground, the solid ground for their children. So they get to understand each other. They get to give each other businesses. They get to give themselves contracts and all that. Most of us are coming from poor backgrounds, and we think education is all that and it's going to take us from poverty to wealth. And that's the other thing. We don't think of building wealth. We don't think of building wealth. We think of having a house and a car and clothes on, it's enough, without thinking those who are coming before us, and without thinking if you leave, is your family sorted? I really think as Black people, if you go back to the history, people were very industrialist, very. If you look at Mapungubwe history, get your kids to know history, not the history that is written, that is being studied at school, which is like propaganda. Get your kids to know the history of Black people. Different. Ask yourself if people like Nigerians, Ghanaians, and I'm not talking about people involved in crime, they come to South Africa and they thrive. What is it that set them apart? And even in a workplace, you'll find that if there's somebody who's not South African original, when they get there, they will be climbing the corporate ladder because they are willing to do the lowest job by learning. They put all their pride. But your child will be going to work, or even yourself, you'll be like, no, this is below. I'm educated enough. I'm not going to do this and do that. Attitude. And you find that most of the time, if a foreigner is here working, they will have a business. There will be a surplus business that they're doing on the side. Why don't you get close when your child go to tertiary? Encourage them to befriend people from different backgrounds, people from different nationality. If a child is coming from Venda, don't encourage her only to have friends from Venda or Shangans only. Let your children think outside the box. So because when they interact with other people from different nationalities and everything, and tribes and everything, they get to see how life is. Education, Barcelona, education is not enough. Education is not enough. Most people are going to go to school and you find the parent was selling tomatoes at Chakuma market, sweating and being there, raining, hot, whatever, to take their child to school. At the end of the day, that child cannot even find a job. It is so painful. It is so painful. I've seen two girls that I went to school with, and I knew that their mother used to sell at Chakuma. And when you pass there, they're also selling at Chakuma because there are no jobs. The question is that if she went to school and the mother has been a vendor for so many years, why not take the education that you had and improve on the business that the mother has of selling vegetables and fruits? Why not take it to another level? Most people, you find that their parents, there's a business that they're doing to put food on the table. With the education that you're getting, education, you need to apply. Wisdom is applying what you know to action. So if we cannot apply what we have learned from school to upgrade the legal business, small business that is being done at home, so why are we going to school? Why are we going to school? Education, it's good, it's necessary, because it also opens your mind and everything. But education also need to want to be streetwise, want to hustle, because you sit there, you graduate, You want driver's license and you sit and you'll be sending CV left, right, and center. Try to start identify the things you are good with your child. Start to identify their talents, their weaknesses, and their strength, and then encourage them. Be that parent who speaks positivity to their children and show them the world, show them different worlds. Books are good, but there's so many people who are more successful who didn't even go to school. I'm not saying that is the route, because your child may not have those brains and the education will be the foundation. But I'm saying we need to start rethinking. We really need to start rethinking.